Live. And there's Riley.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like and follow.
Some people were like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Feel free to keep asking who I am. I'm not offended at all.
One of the first times I saw you was you were covering, was it CES or some kind of like tech trade show event or something like that?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
I've been to CES a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like I was captivated by your personality. It was just like that sort of goofy awkwardness, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like this is so my sense of humor." And
I don't even enjoy tech videos, and then he'll make me watch yours, and I'm like, "Oh, it's fun."
Yeah. Well, as long as someone's making them watch them, then no one's gonna watch them otherwise. I mean,
right?
No. Well, thank you, I guess. Silly, goofy. No, that's definitely my vibe.
Before
on Linus Tech Tips, I'm assuming, not on NCIX.
Right.
See the NCIX CES coverage.
No, I did not.
Was that dry?
Yes, for good reason. No, I mean, I don't know. It was fun, but I definitely had no idea what I was doing. I still don't, but that was even worse.
Oh no! So you met Linus at NCIX?
Yeah, actually, I started at NCIX the same year. It might be the same month that he took his crew who were making NCIX Tech Tips. Actually, they were working on Linus Tech Tips on behalf of NCIX. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the same month or year, I forget, that he basically took his crew and started like doing Linus Tech Tips basically as his main thing and only working on NCIX to contract. That's when I started working at NCIX. And Linus has told this whole story on multiple interviews or whatever, so there's nothing new. But
right.
Yeah, and it was kind of crazy. Because I didn't really know who he was at that time either. He didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. It was great.
So, most people know you as a tech person, but ACHARA will forever know you as a food person now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I had no idea. Because when we were doing our research and Jaby found your personal channel, and then we watched your like intro video, and then you're like, and I'm going to be doing food videos. I was like, wait, what? Food? I love food.
Oh yes, it was a bit of a pivot for me. I don't know if you guys picked up on it since I stopped doing those food videos. It was for a channel called Secret Informant that is now known as Tattle. Since I've stopped doing that, I've basically made it apparent that I'm really not a food guy. I mean, I don't think I ever really tried to hide that. I'm sorry.
I'm so sad.
And then Manu Gurtu says, we want a Hackintosh build with Jaby. I've abandoned Hackintoshes. I'm
really, yeah. Man, they're a lot of work.
Yeah, it's just too much. Like I was strictly on Hackintoshes for the longest time, and I'm just like, if something goes wrong, it was just an emotional nightmare. And it was just like, so I have a PC and I've got a bunch of Macintoshes, and no more Hackintoshes.
You have multiple Macintoshes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So now you're like, if things go wrong with multiple of them, you're like plugging leaks everywhere.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You're like, please work. My first PC build, actually, I tried to make it a dual boot Hackintosh and Windows build.
Yeah. I did that too.
Because I was a Mac user before I worked at NCIX.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll build a custom PC, but I'm going to make it a Hackintosh. And I toiled at it for weeks because I've never done any of that before. And I was just like, nope, I'm doing Windows. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, now it seems like it's impossible to do a Hackintosh with like them converting to M1. It seems like this is just gone now. It's like,
it doesn't bode well for the whole scene. Although I'm sure they'll figure something out. They're hacking geniuses over there.
Tony
on the Hackintosh forums.
My first question was kind of a joke question, but how many Bollywood movies have you been in?
Oh no! So I tweeted that reply to your tweet where I was like, "Oh, I get confused by." I mean, it was a joke, obviously.
Yeah, no, I know.
doesn't happen.
I was so excited when you tweeted at me like that. I ran to a char. I'm like, look, he said,
Well, honestly, okay, if I'm being completely honest, you tweeted at me the first time, and I was like, oh, that might be cool or whatever. But I was, a bunch of stuff was going on, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. So I just but then when you tweeted at me the second time, I'm like, all right. Okay, let's do this. He's serious.
I was trying to figure out. I was actually timing it with Carpool Critics because I was like, if I can get a comment early on Carpool Critics, they'll see me for sure.
That's so funny. Because James, one of the co-hosts on Carpool Critics, the movie podcast from Linus Media Group, subscribe today. He saw your comment and he sent it to me on Microsoft Teams. He's like, this guy wants to interview Riley. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Right. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Yeah.
Oh, so as a shout out to everyone, he has a movie review. Whose idea was that?
Are you asking because the name is dumb?
No, I'm just curious.
Because I kind of agree.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so David and James and I, who were the three hosts, we were in a carpool with another guy, Lloyd from work, but he's not in the podcast. He's not into movies as much as we are, I guess. I don't know. We were in a carpool, and then I moved because we all lived close to each other. I moved away, and then they were like, oh, where's Riley? We missed talking to him. So we decided to pitch this movie podcast idea to Linus, and he was like, all right, sounds good. So then we started doing it.
So before YouTube, what did you do?
Before YouTube? Okay. Right before NCIX, what was it? I was a lifeguard.
What?
What? Yeah. So
that's so random.
I didn't really have I don't want to insult any lifeguards who are watching. Lifeguarding is a real job. Okay. You are valid. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really have a grown-up career job before I worked at NCIX. I was going to university for psychology, and I took way, way too long to get my degree. It took 7 years because I was taking... Just calm down, all right? Listen.
Was it a Van Wilder situation?
Oh, for sure. I'm a wild and crazy guy with the partying. No.
So, was comedy something that you had studied, or was it just a thing that comes naturally to you?
No, I mean, I definitely wouldn't call myself a comedian. I think I'm just silly enough to get by while doing tech content or food, I guess.
Right.
But no, I haven't taken any classes or courses or anything.
Well, whatever you're doing in your videos always puts a big smile on my face. It's it makes what otherwise could be, dry information a lot more fun to digest.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, honestly, that's kind of my, I don't even tell people in my personal life to watch the videos if they're not into tech, because normally I would make a video. I'm like, hey, I made this thing. I'm proud of it. Go watch it. But I don't even tell them to go watch it because I'll be like, this processor is 2.8 gigahertz, as if that'll run the program. Haha, see you later. So they're like, 2.8 what? So, but I have fun doing it, and I think people who are into that kind of stuff can get their tech news with a side of silliness.
Ted Joss super chatted, how many things have you stolen from the LTT office?
Hey, now, I resent that accusation. Well, just looking around my desk here, I have this pop filter that I but I'm going to take it back. That's the only thing that I think I actually stole. Some other people are really bad with that. They're bad people.
Varun Meng in the comments in the chat is saying, how many GPUs has Linus dropped in your presence?
I don't think I've seen him personally drop many GPUs. I think I don't want to say this, but sometimes he does it just for the video, Although I will. Well, okay, look, I can say that because we recently shot a video where he was holding a GPU and it was a dummy GPU. It wasn't a real GPU. And in that video, I don't even know why we had a dummy GPU, but it was a mock-up that someone had sent us just to be look at the cooler design or something. Mm-hmm. And so he dropped it on purpose for the video, but it was a fake GPU. So it was on that was the only time, basically.
Yeah.
That I've actually seen him drop it like in my
gotcha.
presence. Every other time it's like on a video somewhere, and I get as much access to it as the viewers.
I have a production question about Linus Tech Tips that always like been on my mind for a long time. And the thing about it is, I saw I don't remember his name, but there's an Asian guy who works at Linus Tech Tips who like handles the camera a lot. I think he did a video about why you guys shoot in 8K.
Oh, okay.
And it's been a long time.
Probably would have been Brandon.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since I watched it, but it's like it just seems like overkill at its finest. And I just want to know what has he ever considered shooting on DSLRs? Like they're really good, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay. So there was a whole YouTube drama cycle about this because do you guys know Corridor Digital?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam and Nico, and so
they went after him.
I forget when they did it. I think 2019, or no, they had 8K cameras before. I think they switched around 2017.
Yeah.
To red cameras. I might have that wrong. I don't know.
Was that like a beef between them?
Well, okay, so Linus, it wasn't actually Linus. It was Brandon was the impetus behind it. Brandon was like, hey, we should really upgrade our workflow because they were shooting on DSLRs and mirrorless cameras and stuff. And I think maxing out at 4K. And Brandon is like, hey, let's get 8K cameras so that we can, crop in post and just have everything's just a lot sharper when you shoot at a higher resolution and then output it at a smaller resolution. It's still a lot sharper, even if you're not outputting at 8K or whatever.
Right.
So Brandon convinced Linus to spend all the money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I know.
They say in the video, I forget exactly how much it is, but it's in the ballpark of like, it's over 100,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyways, they got the cameras and they made a video Linus being like, I can't believe I spent all this money on this. Look, this SSD is it's $6,000 just for this like 512 gig SSD. It's ridiculous. And Corridor Digital saw the video and they were like, this is dumb. You shouldn't be using these cameras. This is why your arguments are dumb. And they made like a reply video. And then we made a reply video to that one. I don't think I was on the channel when this happened. Yeah. But anyways, there was some back and forth. And then Linus Media Group and Corridor Digital talked and they were like, let's both make videos and do a collab on how we've like come to understand each other's positions.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that video.
Yeah, it's kind of there. I mean, it should be in a playlist or something because it's actually kind of an interesting story because like now a ton of tech YouTubers use red cameras, like Marquez Brownlee uses one.
I've seen that.
Some other
I'm
people
just like,
use
this
like
is
8K videos or 8K cameras.
When I see Marcus Brownlee do that, I'm like, why are you doing this? This is like so much. I mean,
you definitely don't need 8K cameras. And now actually we're starting to use Blackmagic Ursa 12K.
Oh my God.
Cameras. So now we're shooting a bunch of stuff in 12K.
What the hell?
It's okay. All right, guys, let's settle down. All right. You definitely don't have to, but I think that for us, particularly if Linus Tech Tips puts out one video a day.
Yeah.
So our workflow for a lot of stuff is really quick. And TechLinked, my show, we shoot it. I write it. We film it. They edit it, or Dennis usually edits it, and then we merch and publish it all in the same day. Wow. So workflow is really fast. So when you shoot, you want to have the ability to like, the frame's a little bit off. Okay, let's crop in. We want to use a bunch of these close-ups for comedic effect or whatever, and you can punch all the way in, and it's still very sharp.
Right.
You can like stabilize footage if it's shaky or something. So it's these things where like once you get to this like professional level where Linus Media Group is like, we're over 30 people now. I think we're close to 40. And so when you get to this level, it's like, you just want to have the tools that will make your job easier.
Right.
When it comes down to these like tiny little things. And it's like, we have 2 minutes to fix this. All right, do it.
Right. I mean, I asked this question while having overkill equipment myself. I mean, I'm streaming, my webcam is a Canon R5. So it's
I mean, you don't need that to stream, but
because it's like it allows me to do 4K 60, which I then down res for YouTube to 1080 60, and it just gives you a finer image overall,
and it still looks sharp.
Yeah, it looks great.
I'm looking at it right now. We look great. Wow. Maybe I shouldn't go. I was watching at 480. Now I'm watching at 1080.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Somebody said, "What's Linus's brother doing here?"
Have you gotten that?
I'm not Linus's brother, but I have. When I first started at Linus Tech Tips, I got a lot of comments being like, "This guy looks like Linus and Luke had a kid," and I was like, "Okay, that's fair," because Luke was kind of like the taller one and had facial hair, and Linus was like short and had nothing, and I sort of looked like I was in between them. So,
Abhinav Sharma is asking, "Hi Riley, if I buy, we got some techie questions. No surprise,
for sure,
no surprise. Hi Riley, if
I'll do my best.
If I buy upcoming MacBook Pro with M1X, will it last for at least 7 years? My work involves a lot of CPU intensive computations."
It will definitely last for 7 years. You have my guarantee, and if it breaks, bring it to me and I'll fix it. No, I mean, I don't think I can really answer that question. M1 in particular is kind of an untested. Well, it's not untested. It's new, and so it's only been out for a few months. We don't really exactly know how it's going to perform long term.
Right.
But I will say that for a new chip and it's not a new architecture. ARM is. Anyways, you can tell that I'm not like the most techie guy. I'm not the perfect guy to answer this question. But if I wouldn't guarantee that it'll last for 7 years, but for right now, it's a pretty good buy.
Right.
It'll run M1 specific applications, and it'll also emulate x86 like regular Mac OS stuff just fine. So
right.
I don't know, man. Don't look at me. All right.
Varun Mange says, segue to our sponsor.
Is it time? Do you guys have a sponsor? Okay, I don't know.
I just thought that was funny because you guys say it all the time.
The memes.
Zombie Baba says, would 3D printing take away any manufacturing jobs, in your opinion?
Oh, man, that's a
loaded question.
That's complicated,
right?
But I mean, I feel like it might already have. I do not know. I have not looked into that at all, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Robots are evil. We should destroy them all before they kill us.
But you know what? You know what though? There was a video that came out some months back of robots dancing. And
Boston Dynamics.
Right. I was sent that by a friend, and I wrote her back saying with this long diatribe of how robots are going to take over the world. And
you sent this to your friend?
Yeah, because it just put me down to like a mental spiral. It was like a rabbit hole I couldn't get out of how
no.
I just saw the end of the world all at once. And I realized that the end of the world is not like nuclear warfare or like some kind of virus that's going to kill us. The end of the world is going to be automation. Just automation. Everything's just going to be on autopilot, and it's going to kill all what do you call it? Drive to do anything. Any inspiration. It's just going to be gone because we don't have to do anything. It's going to be like WALL-E, right? And without inspiration, why would we do anything? And then like, no need to procreate. It's just like it's just gone.
I mean, hey, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that WALL-E had a pretty
substantial point.
We're a ways off from that because
I hope so.
AI is pretty cool, but it's nowhere near a general AI.
Right.
But I agree with you. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. So like my realization was the end of the world is autopilot, basically. Like long after we're gone, things are still like nothing will ever break, and the world will never die until like at the end of the solar system. Because even if an asteroid comes our way, robots are going to go into space like what's his name? Gary Oldman's robots in Fifth Element. They're going to go out there, redirect the asteroid. So that the robots can keep sustaining the robots on Earth.
You put a lot of thought into this.
Oh, man.
This is all in a text message.
You watch this video of the dancing robots and you're like, oh, no.
Exactly.
Writing a small novel to your friend. Yeah. You should write that out. That should be a short story or something, or a full story. I don't know.
Anush Singh says, how real is silicon shortage? Can we expect a different way to make transistors in the future?
Oh man, the silicon shortage is real. I'll tell you that much. Car manufacturers can't get enough chips to put in vehicles. So like literally anything in the world that is using somewhat new chips in their products can't be made right now. Well, okay, they can be made, but there's a shortage, and it's affecting basically everything. So,
Right.
And it's a very complex problem. I mean, there's not one reason why there's a chip shortage right now. It's partially COVID. It's partially U.S.-China trade war things like being left over from when that was a huge thing. It still kind of is.
Yeah.
And it's a complex problem. But I think the latest development that we talked about on TechLinked was that the local American chip companies like NVIDIA and AMD and stuff are Qualcomm, I think too, are asking the U.S. government to put money into local, into domestic manufacturing of processors. So that might help, or it might be too little too late. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. It's a problem though.
Right.
That's economics. That's as much as I can contribute to that conversation.
Stain Matter says virtual events where you can feel you are almost really there with your avatars will be a reality soon through AR, VR technology. Stay tuned.
Oh, that would actually be pretty cool. If we did like a virtual event and it had like a VR component.
Yeah. That
would be really cool. I'm probably one of the people at LMG who cares about VR more so than others.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I reviewed the Oculus Quest 1 and 2. Have you guys played with VR at all?
Not at all. My one of my best friend upstairs, he has the Oculus Quest, and he was like crazy about it. I think the Oculus Rift and stuff like that is the future, though. I think that's how we're going to go to work in the future because of scalability. Yeah, because of scalability. It's like you don't have to buy a 65-inch monitor anymore. Now you can make it 100 inches in your VR goggles. You know.
I gotta say that like the tech isn't quite there where you would want to spend 8 hours in a VR headset right now.
Right.
Like it's definitely really cool, and I'm super into it. But like after. And I don't know, I guess there are some people who can play for hours and hours and hours, but most people after an hour, maybe two, they're like, that's enough. Like, I'm tired. I've been moving around, and it's also just like, it's strapped to your face.
Yeah.
It's like having ski goggles on all day, but tighter because it's like carrying this thing. Yeah. So I think probably that future that you're talking about, I agree. That's probably the future. It will be enabled by like Apple glasses or something,
right.
Like once like AR glasses kind of get normalized.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It'll be like that Bruce Willis film, Surrogate, Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
Then you don't even have to like you're just sitting down all day. You're just imagining things happening in a real robot bodies doing it. Were they robots? I forget. Were they like
they were. It was avatars. Like you had a component, like a robot component that was in the real world while you were at home.
Yeah. But were the surrogates were they robots or were they like flesh? Were they organisms?
Yeah, but controlled by your mind. Yeah. It was silly.
Yeah,
it was a silly film.
They had to like grow them. That's weird, man. I don't know. I wouldn't grow a surrogate.
How often does your family pester you when things go wrong with their tech gear?
Not as often as I would appreciate. Sometimes people ask me like, "Hey, can you come fix this thing or whatever?" And I'll be like, "I'll try, but I don't even know if I can fix it." And I do my best, and then they're like, "Oh, well, thanks for trying," or whatever. And other times they'll be like, "So I bought this laptop." And I'm like, "No." I'm like, that's a bad one to buy. Why didn't you talk to me? Like, oh man, I remember back when I worked at NCIX, I did a whole video. I did like a 15-minute video about why Apple's new MacBook was super dumb. And that wasn't me just being like an Apple hater, because I was a Mac user. Like I like Apple sometimes. I think for certain people, Apple is the better choice. For other people, it's absolutely not.
Right. Right.
And I think it was 2015. They released the MacBook, just MacBook, not MacBook Pro or Air or anything, and it had 2 USB-C ports. And actually, no, wait, I think it had 1 USB-C port.
Terrible.
And a headphone jack.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I was like upset because I'm like, this is so dumb. It was like $1,800. It had a super lame processor in it that couldn't do anything. And so I did this video comparing the MacBook and a PC, a laptop that could do everything for way cheaper.
Yeah.
And I told my friend, he was like, "Should I get that new MacBook?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." I did this whole video, watch the video.
Yeah.
And then
he bought it.
A couple weeks later, I go see him, and he has the MacBook. I'm like, no, you fool. Yeah. So I guess it depends on the family or friend that you're talking to.
Well, apparently Apple didn't like it either because they've basically abandoned it, right? It's not. I don't think they're making it anymore.
I mean, to be fair to Apple, I think it was more of like a concept device, and every company does this, not just Apple. They'll release like this crazy device that shouldn't exist and price it ridiculously high. Yeah. And the whole point of doing that is to get people's attention and be like, look at this crazy thing. And they're like, ooh, this company is prestige. They are fancy. And so then when they release a more reasonable product, those people will be like, oh, okay, I'll buy that one because I have them in my mind because of this stupid product that no one should have bought.
Right.
Yeah.
Nikhil Toram says, speaking of 3D printing, did you know that a 2017 Indian space startup, Agnikul, tested Work's first completely 3D printed Methalox engine? I'm reading this probably terribly. Am I reading that wrong?
I don't know.
I did not know that.
I guess they built they built an engine from 3D printing is the idea. I mean, 3D printing is the future for sure. Like, I mean, I've watched a lot of videos on like life extension and the ability to 3D print organs and whatnot. So, you know.
Right. Yeah. Like out of like cells.
Yeah. No, it's just crazy. Like the notion is that one day, instead of having to have donors, you can just walk into a shop and be like, I want my heart. You know, it's stupid. It's like something dumb like that.
That one.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah,
man. That like cyberpunk stuff is kind of crazy. Like the movies that depict that kind of thing where people are like growing organs and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that always seems a lot more far-fetched. But in some ways, we're closer to that than we are to a future in which like everyone has like robotic limbs and like neural lace in their brain and stuff. Like, it's almost like simpler to be like, hey, we need to regrow your organ. So we're going to like take a few of your cells and put it in a petri dish and take care of it really nicely, like a Tamagotchi. And then we have a liver, you know, and we'll just like put that in you. We're almost closer to that than like Cyberpunk 2077 type of thing.
Right, absolutely. Toolkit Kaushik says, Apple shifting slowly to made in India. Any thoughts?
I don't really have any thoughts particularly about that. I guess I don't. They've made stuff all over the place. I know that they take pride in the fact that they manufacture some parts in California, but
it seemed like just a survival move to me. Like, because there was like issues with China. They're like, okay, to India now. Like,
right.
It just seemed like we just got to keep. Do you feel crypto miners are affecting the gaming industry because they're making GPUs less accessible to real gamers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, all of these matters are very complicated, and there's all sorts of like dynamics going on. But it certainly appears that way. That and there's definitely a sense of that. Like, there's definitely a sentiment that is happening, and so there are a lot of gamers upset that they perceive that this is happening. I haven't looked at like the actual numbers, and I don't have data available to me where it's like, yes, we can show that this amount of gamers didn't get GPUs because this amount of cryptocurrency people bought out the stock or whatever. But on first glance, from a layman's perspective, it appears that sort of is what is happening, and it's slightly upsetting, particularly because I think that cryptocurrency is super cool.
Yeah.
And I think that the technology behind it is really intriguing, and it has a lot of promise for changing the way that finance is done.
Yeah.
But there are also kind of real downsides to it, like the volatility of coin prices and the environmental impact of people mining and like taking up a lot of electricity from things that could be, using it.
Right.
So it's complicated, and I don't think crypto miners are bad people.
Yeah.
But it is a little frustrating when you're just trying to buy a graphics card or whatever, and the only thing available is a GTX 1050 or whatever, because Nvidia is actually did you hear about this? Nvidia is actually bringing back like an old 2 generations old graphics card, the GTX 1050 Ti, and they're re-releasing it because all of the stock of the new stuff is just gone.
Oh wow.
So that's partially the reason why they're doing this like cryptocurrency limiter thing with the new 3060 and whatnot. But
I mean, to what you're saying, that's why it's in Iceland. I mean, it's a very, very cool environment, so it's easier to maintain that facility.
That's true. That's a good point.
It could get really hot.
Iceland.
Yeah.
Thus the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although apparently Iceland's more green than Greenland.
Have
you heard that?
Yes. Yeah.
I've never been there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Surya Agarwal says, "Damn, Riley from LMG always wanted to ask who writes the cheesy jokes for your videos." I should have read that before saying it out loud. Can't be Linus for sure.
I embrace the cheese.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are they scripted or improvised?
I'd say I don't want to say half and half because most of them. It really depends on the episode. Some episodes, especially where the ones where there isn't a heckler in the background or where it's like a different heckler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you the setup that we have is there's a main host who's reading the script and then there's a person behind the camera and they're kind of being like, yeah, right. As if that would happen. Blah, blah. And
yeah, exactly.
So I really like interacting with the person behind the camera and kind of having dialogue and back and forth. And sometimes some jokes come out of that, and that's great. Most of the time, if a host is just looking at the camera and saying something, it's probably scripted, unless they thought about something in the moment, which is more rare. But if someone is joking with someone off camera, it's probably ad-libbed. And that's fun. I like that whole setup.
These other questions are going to deviate from the tech stuff. I was going to ask you about... Did you first off, okay, still in the realm of tech stuff, do you enjoy, are you still able to legitimately enjoy tech stuff doing what you do? Because like for me, it's like, I try not to play video games for YouTube because I feel like if I do, I'm not going to enjoy it as much.
Because it becomes work.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes
work.
I
think that's a real concern. I mean, it's kind of hard because I feel like when I didn't work in tech, I would kind of like seek things out a lot more on my own and fiddle around. Like before working for NCIX was anything in my mind, I had a MacBook and I would like experiment with installing Wine and trying to like run emulators and stuff and like fiddle around in the settings and try and like tweak things that like a normal Mac person would definitely not do. And now that I am, since being kind of embedded in the tech world, that stuff comes as part of just what I do regularly because I'm like, oh, for this video, I'm doing research on this. So then I have to install this thing. And so like, I'm doing things that I don't know whether I would do them or not if I wasn't in the tech world. But just in terms of like, if I'm on my leisure time and I'm trying to find something to read or to a video to watch or whatever, probably do less of look for tech stuff less than I would have.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I'm less interested in it, but I think that like being in a tech situation, you just you encounter more of that stuff as part of your daily life anyways. So yeah, it's a hard question to answer.
Right. What kind of computer do you use at home?
Well, I just got an upgrade because we did this Intel sponsored this upgrade series for LMG employees, and we made videos about. We had a certain budget, and we spec'd out our place with like new tech. So I got a new system. It's a oh no. Oh no, I forget what the processor is.
Wait, 10,000 something.
Oh, hold on. I need to Google it. This looks so bad. 10600K. That's what I'm running. Obviously, Intel Core i5 10600K. Obviously, but I know I have an RTX 2080.
Has a video game ever made you emotional?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, The Last of Us.
Which one?
The Last of Us. The first one. I haven't played the second one.
Okay.
Have you played the second one?
I have.
Yeah. Well, some people got emotional over that for many different reasons. But,
okay. Without giving anything away, I had a love-hate relationship the entire time with that game. And at the end of the game, I did find myself getting quite emotional. But it's not for reasons that you might expect. But like, it made me emotional. It was weird because up until recently, I have never gotten emotional with a video game. And then I played God of War, and that made me emotional.
Okay.
And so it was just weird that back to back, I had 2 video games that made me feel that way.
The Last of Us 2 and God of War?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, dang, man. Because, like, I was so upset. I started playing God of War on PlayStation Now because I don't have a PlayStation. And it was on PlayStation Now. And I'm like, okay, it's a single player game. I don't really care if there's like a little bit of lag or whatever because you're streaming the game. And so I got through, like, I don't even know how far I got because I didn't finish the game. I don't know how like what the percentage wise, but I got a little bit into the game and I was into it. I'm like, cool. And then Sony took it off PlayStation Now, and now I'm like, when am I going to play this game? But it seemed really interesting. It seemed like I was getting into it, and I liked the kind of it was sort of the same dynamic, right? Where you're like a parental figure to a kid, and they're with you throughout the whole thing. Yeah, and I think that was really salient to me because my wife was pregnant at the time, and I was like thinking about fatherhood and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I really want to finish that game, but yeah, that's kind of why the first one affected me emotionally. I played that years and years ago. And I love the dynamic there. I love the moral questions that it poses at the end. Yeah. The kind of like the adopting of Ellie as a daughter by Joel, and the kind of like father-daughter dynamic there, even though they're not like biological family. Like, so many things. It's cool. It got me emotional. I don't know if I cried like playing it, but I was just like, dang, dude. Dang, that's deep.
So, so you don't have access to a PS5 with Linus? Because I thought he had a PS5.
Oh, I mean, I think we do have one PS5. I mean, I could do it, but like I said, I'm lazy about these things.
I would just really love to know your. I mean, I know it'll be a while, but I would love to know your take on God of War after you've played it through. Because, like, for me, it's very difficult for me to say that a game is one of my favorite games of all time. God of War is one of my favorite games of all time. It is up there.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Like, there's a handful.
That is a recommendation.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. And it's because it's got everything that I could possibly want in a video game. You know, too, what you were talking about in your video, it's got the emotional content because it's got the story. It's got incredible gameplay. The mechanics are just perfect. It's like, it's just a fantastic game all around.
And that's really, like, those are the best games in my opinions. In my opinions, all of my opinions. The ones that kind of can combine these different elements. And that's why, you know, when I think about playing a Telltale game or like one of these kind of, you know, walking simulators for lack of a better term, where, you know, you're not like controlling a player, one player, like I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to walk over here. It's more kind of about distinct scenes and like choosing actions and whatnot. Those are not super interesting to me because it's like taking the dialogue system from Mass Effect and being like, this is going to be the whole game. And that's like that you're taking one element out and making it the whole game. And I don't think I think the best games synergize all of these cool elements.
Right.
And, you know, playing through Half-Life for the first time was really cool because this was like, this is the first time. Well, not the first time. Other games had done it, I think, but this was like the best one that had done it at the time of not having cutscenes. Just having the whole gameplay, like every important event that occurs and dialogue that happens, you have control of your player and you're in that scene. And those kind of like innovations where they take gameplay in a new direction, that's interesting to me. Yeah. And so like God of War, something where it can have good acting and good writing and themes, and the game is actually fun, and there's an upgrade path that's compelling and keeps you playing, and it's maybe not too long. I don't know, but having like all of those elements, that's a good game.
Well, the interesting thing about God of War in particular is it's a short game and a long game because you beat it, but then like Mario. There's like this other game available to you if you want to be a pro, you know?
Right. So, and I think, having that sort of like different paths available to people who like different things is really cool. Because I'm not somebody who doesn't want to like play a game for like one whole year. I'm playing the same game. Yeah. You know, I want to like play a single player story And then if it's like really interesting to me, I might like play a little bit of multiplayer, but other than that, not really. You know, I like to finish a game and then move on to the next one. You know.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I that's why I don't get into like MMO RPGs or anything like that. I'm like, I want to have a story and engage with it and then be done with it. You know.
Yeah. Like treat it like movies.
Exactly. I have that last thing I was going to ask you was some silly rapid fire movie choices.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how well I'm going to do that, but let's go.
This is just like, because like some people do this to me, this rapid fire thing, because I got interviewed the other day and I was like, I'll try that. I don't know where this is going to go. Like there's no prize. So
to the moon.
Yeah. Let's go. Okay. So, and you may not even have seen some of these things. So Matrix Reloaded or Hackers?
I haven't seen Hackers.
Okay.
But I'm going to say Hackers.
Okay. War Games with Matthew Broderick or The Net with Sandra Bullock?
Oh man, I haven't seen The Net either. But I think I've only seen War Games like when it was on TV, like, and I caught clips of it with commercials or something. So I can't answer that one.
Okay.
I don't know.
Swordfish or Virtuosity?
What are these movies?
These are all tech movies.
I know, I haven't seen either of those. I think I'm familiar with Swordfish. That's the hacker when Halle Berry's in it, I think,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I've never even heard of Virtuosity. I don't know what that is.
Johnny Mnemonic or Lawnmower Man 2?
Oh man, no, haven't seen any of those. But I did a Wikipedia deep dive on Lawnmower Man one time, and I was like, this sounds wild.
Yeah,
it's just like the premise is just.
Yeah, these are all like computer, like techie or hackery movies.
So wait, did you come up with this list, or is this a list that you're reading?
No,
I'm so sorry to disappoint you.
No.
I'm clearly sorely lacking in my tech movie knowledge.
Well, no, the thing is, you're younger than me, so like I assume that a number of these things you might not have ever had a chance to watch.
Wait, so, I'm not that younger than you.
We'll talk about that offline. So,
okay.
Enemy of the State or The 13th Floor?
Oh, okay. I've definitely seen Enemy of the State. These are all movies that I saw like a long time ago. The 13th Floor?
You never heard of that? That came out at the same time.
This is supposed to be a rapid fire thing? Oh, I haven't seen The 13th Floor.
You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, Riley, for participating in this with us. Thank you so much for doing this. Really, really appreciate it. And you've been very generous with your time, answering all of our questions. And for me, this was quite the pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was super fun. And thanks for sending all your questions in, guys.
Alrighty.
See you later.
Peace out.